more to making great video than meets the eye. In fact, one of Hollywood's biggest secrets for creating high-end productions can't be seen at all. It's all about audio. Whether you realize it or not, Foley artists and sound designers have been fooling your ears for years. In this episode, we'll look at how they do it and how you can too. This week we're going to take a slightly different approach to Take 5. Instead of flying over 5 big, broad, flashy tips, we're going to zoom in tight. This week we'll focus all 5 tips on just a few seconds of footage as we examine 5 things you need to know to create a full film-style soundscape for a scene that was recorded without audio. To demonstrate, I've pulled a couple clips from the video tracks collection that cut into a sequence. These are clips 5653 and 5654 from the On the Farm category of video tracks 2. By the way, if you have video tracks or sound effects, this would be a great episode for you to save and study. Just because video tracks clips are delivered without sound doesn't mean they have to stay that way. Let's look at our sequence. As you watch, notice how empty the shots seem without sound. But the same sequence takes on a whole new feel when we add effects. Here, watch it again, this time accompanied by a series of sound effects. Every single sound in that scene came straight from the Digital Juice sound effects library. So how'd I do it? I'm glad you asked. I've got 5 tips to help take the fear out of Foley and to demonstrate the power of sound effects. So if you're ready, let's take 5. Tip number 1, locate the literal. We'll begin by finding sounds that match what we see on the screen. First, let's watch the sequence and make a list of elements that we see that are going to need sounds. In the first shot, I see chickens in the barn, so we're going to need some chicken sounds. And in this next shot, we're going to need sounds for those footsteps and for that wheelbarrow. We're also going to need some ambient sounds of the country, but that's another tip. Okay, let's open the audio edition of the juicer and see what we can find. Our scene starts inside the barn, where you can see some of those chickens. With more than 10,000 sounds in my sound effects library, finding a few balks for my bird should be easy enough. First, we'll do a quick keyword search for the word chicken in the sound effects library. All right, chickens, hen house. Let's listen. Sounds great. I think it's going to work really well. Because my shot is short, I won't need the whole clip, just part of it. And the echo of the clucks inside the hen house is going to work really well to simulate the acoustics of that old barn. Let's take our chicken clip and drop it in the timeline. By the way, I'm demonstrating in Adobe Premiere Pro, but the concepts that we'll cover will work no matter what you edit with. Okay, let's trim that clip to match the length of our barn shot and take a look. Cool, that's going to be perfect. Let's go on to our next shot. To start with, we'll need the sounds of falling footsteps. Fortunately, there are tons to choose from in the Foley footsteps category of the sound effects library. Let's open the juicer and see what we can find. Here we go. Footsteps, dirt, boots, walking. And I have them both as a sequence of steps and as individual left and right footfalls. Let's take all 3 and we'll decide which one works best once we get into the editing interface. Let's try the full clip first. We'll scrub through the footage here to find his first step and line up the sound with his first footfall. Okay, let's try that. That's okay for like the first 3 steps, but it gets out of sync after that. I think we'll use the individual footfalls. By the way, I'm not too worried about her feet since you really can't see him in this shot, but his big steps and heavy footfalls definitely need to match up exactly. Let's scrub through the clip and find the frame right there, right where his heel just starts to hit. Now we'll grab the right footfall and line it up at that point. And we'll repeat the process for all 13 steps that he takes in the shot, placing each one right where the heel hits. Okay, let's watch our sequence now. All right, this is a good start. We have our chickens and our footsteps. But what about that wheelbarrow? Back in the juicer, my search for a wheelbarrow sound is coming up empty. Well, don't worry. That just brings us to Tip number 2, repurpose a sound. If you open your mind, a single sound can be used for a lot of different things. To me, making one thing sound like something else is one of the most fun things about working with sound effects. How about using the sound of a squeaking balloon for my stiff neck, or the sound of some breaking celery for my breaking wrist? We're going to use the same principle of repurposing sounds to find something that works well for our wheelbarrow wheel. See? Not broken. With an open mind and a creative ear, let's run a few more keyword searches in the juicer to find that sound for the wheelbarrow. First, we'll try wheel. Remember, we're not listening for what the sound is, we're listening for what we want it to sound like in our scene. The sound of this filing cabinet drawer is close. I guess it could work if we trimmed off the slam at the end, but I think we can do better. Let's try a new search, this time on the word roll. Copper pipe rolling on hollow wood floor. Now we're getting somewhere. Look at this, a whole series of metal and plastic pipes rolling on different surfaces. I'm sure one of these is definitely going to do the job. All right, hang on a second. Will you ever really need to add the sound of a pipe rolling on a wooden floor to accompany a shot of a pipe rolling on an actual floor? No, probably not. But that's exactly what we need to simulate the sound of our old metal-wheeled wheelbarrow in this scene. When you consider your sound effects collection, it's important to remember that a lot of clips are named for their sources, not for their uses. Why? Well, because that one sound could be used for all kinds of different things. I settled on the sound of metal pipe rolling on solid wood floor to use for our rattly old wheelbarrow. Let's drop it on the timeline and take a listen. Here's what it sounds like with the wheelbarrow. I like how the little metal clanks of the pipe match up with the rocking action of the wheelbarrow. It's perfect. And our viewers aren't going to have a clue. This is one of the secrets of sound effects. They're going to buy it hook, line, and sinker. To them, this is not the sound of a pipe rolling on a wooden floor. To them, it's the sound of a metal wheelbarrow wheel. Tip number 3, imply it exists. Sound effects let you imply the existence of things that aren't really there. Let's go back to that barn. In my world, there's more in there than just chickens. We can use our sound effects collection to add cows, sheep, someone cutting wood with a handsaw, or a horse. Here we go. Now get this. Even though the viewer never sees head nor hoof of that horse, in the context of our edit, it's alive and it's in that barn. And the viewer believes it's there because they hear it. Now, I'm using this principle to put a horse in a barn, but you might use it to imply the existence of a police car, a motorcycle, a wild animal, or a scary monster. Okay, let's drop our horse sound into place and take another look. Sounds great, that works for me. By the way, this can be a great money saver. You don't have to hire a horse or a helicopter or a Harley. Just imply they exist with sound effects. Tip number 4, adjust the ear's eye view. Your clips will feel richer if you move your sounds around. As the camera's position changes, your audio should change too. The first shot in our sequence takes place inside the barn, so we'll set up our audio as though the viewer were standing in the barn. What do you think you'd hear? Well, think about the ambiances and the acoustics in that space. You'd definitely hear the animals at the front of your soundscape. They'd be the loudest. And the things happening outside would be harder to hear because they're, well, off in the distance outside. When we cut to that exterior shot, however, the sound needs to change. Now it's as though we've stepped outside the door of that barn and we're hearing things differently because we're closer to the subjects. Now we can hear them more prominently. Now, if we were actually standing just outside that barn, we'd probably still hear something of those noisy animals. And right now, we don't. So let's stretch out the sound of our chickens to the full length of the scene. And at the point of the edit, where we change shots to the outside, we'll use the razor tool to split the clips. And on that edit, we're going to drop the gain on our animal sounds way down to move them to the background. They need to be there, but just barely. Here I've dropped my audio gain from 0 dB to -25. Notice that you can actually hear the audio change at the edit. There's kind of a pop right there, and that's no good. Fortunately, all we need to do is a quick crossfade to smooth out the edit. The animals are now a natural part of the soundscape of our exterior shot. If the animal suddenly disappeared at the edit point, or if we left in a noticeable audio pop, it would distract the viewer from what's going on in the scene, and it just wouldn't work. Tip number 5, add ambience. Ambience is the glue that holds your soundscape together. A lot of people think of ambient sound effects as simple drop-and-go soundscapes. In reality, that's not what they're meant to be. Ambiences are best used to add ambience. According to dictionary.com, ambience is the mood, character, quality, tone, or atmosphere of an environment. So ambiences are the natural, supporting environmental sounds in your scene, and they're best used not as a one-clip solution, but as a supporting layer that adds the depth, interest, and legitimacy that you need to hold your other effects together. The Digital Juice sound effects library has a whole category dedicated to ambiences. You'll find ambient sounds for repair shops, carnivals, construction sites, and the sounds of the country, which is just what we need to finish off our scene. Let's take a look at the shot with just the ambient country sounds. This would be that drop and go solution. Since you've already seen the effects of the animals, the footsteps and the wagon wheel, this one isn't that exciting, is it? But like I said, our ambient effect isn't here to be the star of the show. It's here to play a supporting role. Here, check it out now when it's used with the other sounds. There you go, 5 tips for selling scenes with sound effects. Number 1, locate the literal. Number 2, repurpose the sound. Number 3, imply it exists. Number 4, adjust the ear's eye view. And number 5, add ambience. You've heard the saying, what you see is what you get. Well, not in the video world. Most of the time, it's not what you see, but what you hear that sells the scene. And most of what you hear when you go to the movies or watch TV was created with sound effects. Whether you use sound effects to sound out the literal, imply something exists, or to add ambience, you'll find that sound effects are powerful tools in the hands of a creative cutter. Well, that's it for me. There's my ride. Over here. Yeah, come on down.